Oh,
Let's see.
Isaac, can you hear
There it
me?
is. I got
Oh,
you.
cool. Fuck, it's just a Zoom thing. It was just a Zoom thing. I,
Oh man.
you have to press join audio, and I didn't do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you
Oh
sound
man.
much better now. What did you
Okay.
change?
All I did was I unplugged it and I plugged it back in.
Which one?
And I have the Scarlet DAC, so that's what I unplugged. And like,
Okay.
fair enough. Don't know.
I got you. I got it. Looks like you got a real nice sound setup behind you there.
Oh yeah,
Look at
man.
that.
There's those are I don't know how big those are. But my housemate he like makes speakers and he does hi-fi stuff.
Really?
Yeah. We have some very nice amps as well.
Because I have a friend who's actually serves as my audio engineer on set. He does the exact same thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to.
Yes, that's
Sounds so fun.
yes. It's he. In fact, he took me. I was in New York before the coronavirus
Yeah.
for about a month ago, and we went to a thing called Can Jam. It was held at the Marriott Marquis in Manhattan, literally in Times Square, and it was all about audiophiles with their new headphones and amps and all these. I mean, just ridiculously expensive stuff, but it was really cool, man.
That's awesome.
Yes, so that's cool, man. Yeah, I was like, oh, I wonder what he's got rocking and rolling back there.
I'll have to send you pictures of the whole setup. Like we have a bunch of speakers throughout the house.
Oh, excellent! Wow, y'all love your music. I like it.
Yeah. I know he's a big audiophile.
That's great, man. And does he do does he make it for people? I'm assuming.
He has done in the past. He used to work for a company
Okay.
that specialized in that.
Excellent.
And yeah, he can take commissions. I want to push him to do it more because he's very good at it.
Oh, great. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That's great. Well, it's good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You've been well.
I have, as well
That's
as
good.
I can be.
Yeah. So what
I've
have you been doing to keep busy?
Yeah, so it's been a lot of thinking and planning, kind of catching up on some things, and I'm looking at putting together my my new reel. So trying to get rocking and
Ooh.
rolling with that, and
Very nice.
kind of preparing for the future. Plans have changed due to the virus, so kind of running the numbers and thinking about what's going to happen next month and the following month, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
so it's been a
of
lot of every day there's always something to do, which is good.
Yeah, it's good to stay busy at least.
Indeed. Well, that
Yeah.
and of course I'm still technically in college because I have these online classes through Zoom, which is annoying, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So you still have to be up at 8 in the morning. You're not allowed to sleep in any days, are you?
I know. I was up at 8 a.m. this morning, and I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah. Are you in the dorms now then?
Yeah. No, I'm at home.
Okay, fair enough.
Right now, yeah. The campus is shut down and will be for the rest of the summer. So they have made the decision. If you were to take summer classes, that's online. I just found out from my sister who will be going into college for her freshman year that all of their orientation will be online. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really some craziness happening right now, especially in the education sector. Well, really in every sector, but education.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
So
absolutely.
Do you want to say a brief summary of what you do? But I want to more so get to the point of why do you do what you do?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Well, I think I have a lot of it to, I got to credit you a lot for it, Jonathan. You getting me into the acting first. Well, it was really the news hosting, then the acting, and then the directing that came after. But
yeah, it was a whole journey, wasn't it?
Oh boy, some good times.
Man, it's some of the greatest times. Honestly, I love everything that we made. I was just talking with a friend of mine, Greg, on the phone just before we started this chat, and it's like,
oh, excellent.
We made a fucking feature. We
did.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah, man. And then premiered it in a theater.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? Like, we were young. The acting's not up to super spec. The cinematography's not the best. But like,
yeah, sure. But
we were driven by passion, and that was it. And I love that. It was so pure.
Yes. And kind of going off of that comment about passion. So what do I do? So for those, I'm assuming, who don't know, my name is Isaac Fitzgerald Davis, and I'm a filmmaker and the founder and president of Identity Production Studios. And we are a film production company that specializes in professional film production, commercial, corporate video, and post-production. That's what we do, and that's what I do. And the reason why I do it is because I love storytelling. I love storytelling. I love, when it comes to watching a film and being, transported into a completely new world with a completely new vision of someone else, I think that's exceptional. And I think movies have a place in everyone's lives, whether those people like movies or not. I think our culture is shaped by the media, by the things that we watch. And I think it's a testament to what visual storytelling can do. And it is, honestly, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. I can't. It's more or less an addiction, so to speak, which is I think for me, it's a good thing. This is something that I am passionate about, and I wake up every day wanting to do more. And I think it gives me a sense of fulfillment that even when it comes to, clients that come to us to have a vision of what they want to do, but don't necessarily know how to tell the story, that's where we step in. And I just think that's awesome to have people come to you and be like, how do I tell this story? And then pay me to do it. That's great.
Yeah, of course. Completely. I love that. Indeed. So absolutely. What, if people could take away anything from a story that you tell, what would you like it to be?
That's a great question, because I had someone, I think it was a news reporter when we were premiering Solo Orange or something, and he said, what do you want the audience to walk away with, once they see the film? And my response was, I think as a filmmaker, part of our responsibility is to make you feel something. I think it's one thing to produce pretty images and really cool sounds and animation, whatever, but if you don't leave without feeling something or contemplating and thinking about something, what was the purpose?
Completely.
So that's really what I want. And that goes with any work I produce. And that also, I think, goes for all of the films and work that I watch. What do I walk away with? What do I feel walking away with after watching that film? And not a lot of people. I think what's interesting is, there are good films and bad films out there. There's all different types of films out there. And some do a better job of making you feel than others do. But I think that's just a part of that storytelling is what do I feel after I hear that story, or in this case, of course, I'm watching a film. What do I get out of that feeling?
Is there a particular feeling that you would have in mind when it comes to like a core feeling that you'd want people to walk away specifically of something that you created?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, that's a really good question.
Because I don't know. I just think like it's great wanting people to feel, but why do you want them to feel what they're feeling, and what do you want them to feel specifically?
Right.
Because feeling could be anything. You can say, I want people to walk away angry and just hate everything, or I want them to feel love, or anything in between.
Yes, I think that depends on the type of film, the genre of film. So if it's a love story, right, you want people to walk away feeling, emotional. You want them to feel affectionate, maybe, lustful, and I think the reason why I brought up the word feel is because when you feel something, you tend to remember it more often. And I think that's ultimately what you want people to walk away with after, watching a film, is you want them to remember, right, or recall what they've watched, so that when they go out into the world, whether that they be interacting with friends or coworkers or whatever, hopefully the message that you were trying to portray in the film comes back up. You remember that feeling, and that sparks ideas or interest, or even in a lot of sense, it promotes action. I think and I know I keep bringing Solo Orange up, but I think the purpose of that film was to have the audience walk away with what are some of the feelings that people go through when they're dealing with anxiety and depression, right? And then the second half of that is, what can you do as an audience member when you go out there and you communicate with your friends or with your family or people you haven't talked to in a very long time? you know. That was kind of the whole purpose of that. It was, of course, to really help you understand what it could possibly feel like for someone going through that experience. But also, it's a reminder to say, you know what, I also need to make sure that I'm checking on, you know, my closest friends and my closest family members, because it's a tough world out there, for sure.
Yes, of course. So for those listening who don't know what Solar Orange is, I saw it. It's fantastic, and it's so great to see that it's doing so successful, because it was originally released, when were you doing the festival run?
So the festival run, to be honest, we didn't even think about the first time when we had premiered the film. It was not at all in the plan. And I think it was after our first premiere at the Sadler Center almost a year ago, actually.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was about a year since I've seen it.
Yes, yes. I had one of my film professors who actually came to the premiere, and he said, you really should consider, you know, submitting this to film festivals. And I said, for some odd reason, I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You know? So, and that's, you know, I think part of that was fear. And I think that was something that I dealt with. I mean, it's scary, you know, you know, after, you know, finishing the film, and then, you know, we had committed to a date when we were going to premiere it, the realization that, okay, now we're going to show something that we have made to a group of people who have no clue what they're about to experience. A lot of those people gave us the money to make it. You know, what's going to be their reaction? You know, you're going to have the family of the person you're making the film about there. It's just all these things. It's like, oh my God, what if they don't like it? And it was crazy, because after we had shown the film, I was so hesitant to go out on stage and, you know, thank everybody for coming, because I just didn't want to see anybody's faces. I was just like, I'm not doing it, you know. But I think what was surreal was when I came out and I had ran into a family who was exiting the theater on the opposite side of the stage. They were in tears. They were in tears because after they had watched the film, they said it felt so real to me. It was so surreal what you all produced. And I think it was so encouraging for the audience to talk to the crew members and to talk to me, and them telling us how emotionally moved they were. And I think that gave me the confidence to say, okay, this actually is not that it wasn't before, but I think we should do this. We should run it to the festival and see what happens.
That's great. And what was the general consensus from other people
after the first premiere?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was shocking.
Yeah.
The reports that I got back is there were so many people like literally crying. Like it was, I mean, of course you have a lot of people who knew the John, who was, you know, of course, who the film was about, but even students from the college, right? You know, from the college, from the area that I come from at William & Mary, you know, stress is a very big subject. You know, anxiety is a very big subject. Depression is a very big subject. And so we actually had one of the school newspapers one of them attended the film and wrote an article afterwards saying how emotionally moved the audience was. And you could look across the theater and see people with tears running down people's faces, you know, and it was just, I was just completely overwhelmed, because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this people shouldn't be crying, you know, after, you know, after watching something that we had made, and people are coming out crying, like, oh my goodness, like that is so surreal. But it was also a moment of reflection, but also a moment of pride, in the sense that we felt that we did what we wanted to do. You know, we felt we told the story as it should have been told, and it emotionally connected with people. And I think that's the greatest honor any filmmaker could get, you know? And I think the crew definitely felt a sense of accomplishment, you know, because I'm gonna tell you right now, it was rough. We didn't know what we were making half the time. You know, we were like, man, you know, so it was just you know, so to hear nothing but good things
Yeah.
come out of that premiere, gave us the confidence and gave us the energy to continue to push forward.
Yeah. That's amazing. So
Yes,
going back, would you be able to summarize Solar Orange for some people?
absolutely. So Solar Orange, in a nutshell, is inspired by the life of a very close friend of mine, John Van Bergen, who had unfortunately committed suicide in January of 2018. And I remember when I had gotten the message from his mother, actually, that he had passed. And, you know, that hit me because we actually had planned to go to the same school together, the same college. He was at the VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. He was studying film distribution there. You know, we had planned to go to the same school, and, you know, of course, always plan to go to the Oscars, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the things young filmmakers plan to do, you know. And so, you know, hearing about his death was very hard, you know, for me. And you know, of course, you have a whole lot of people reaching out and saying, you know, my goodness, you know, I'm so sorry, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, I'm the type of person, you know, for me, I have to do something, right? You know, if I'm going to honor you know, John, well, he wouldn't want me to, you know, stand up there sulking and crying about him. He'd go out and make a film. He'd go out and be creative. And that is something that I felt I had to do when we were thinking about you know, creating Solar Orange. You know, so Solar Orange is about it's inspired by the life of John Van Bergen, and it is about a college student who is gripping with the different facets, excuse me, of anxiety and depression. And it's an emotional story that kind of explores what those feelings are like, and it interprets that through imagery, how that would look. And it's, of course, interpretive because, you know, I am fortunate enough not to deal too much with that experience as opposed to other people. So the film is an interpretation of you know, what anxiety and depression looks like in the face of a young college student, and it is inspired by the perspective of John Van Bergen.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Why would you say you wanted to make the film specifically with that vision? And what was the driving force, like, at the core?
Sure. I think the issue was people, when they think about a person, right? And in this specific situation, surrounding, you know, John and his death, you know, there were a lot of people that were linking it back to his past, right, and what he had experienced. And I'm not going to get too in depth with all the, you know, ins and outs and legal things with that and who was involved with that. But for me, it was important that I told a story that reflected who he was to people and what he gave to people. I think sometimes people lose sight of that, you know. I think it was important for me to attempt to communicate what it is like to go through different episodes of anxiety and depression. That is something that not a lot of people understand, you know, and of course that depends on your cultural background. It depends on, you know, your interpretation, that, you know, how you grew up, all those different types of things. It's different for everyone. But it is a very real thing that a lot of young people deal with today, especially in college, especially in the age of social media. It's tough. You know, everyone's held to this ridiculous standard. You have to be this, you have to have this amount of followers, et cetera, et cetera. So it was important for me to say, you know, hold on. We need to focus on what he gave to people. We need to focus on the good things. We also need to focus on what he dealt with and what many other people are dealing with when it comes to anxiety and depression. This is something that is affecting everyone, but especially young people. And it is leading to increased suicides and things of that nature, which is not a good thing.
Mhm.
So, and it was crazy because during that time, one of the writers of the film was also deals with anxiety and depression. And there was an episode where during my freshman year, we actually had to call the police department and the emergency services to remove him from his room, and take care of him and watch him to make sure that he was going to be okay, for the rest of the evening. So it's just a very surreal thing, and I felt that this anxiety and depression needed a different interpretation from the student perspective, and I felt that I could attempt to hopefully do that somehow in an effective way, as a student. I think the story should be told from that perspective. So that's kind of how that passion in me came to be, and what better way to honor someone than to, make a film and hopefully inform others about that area of life.
I love that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So what do you have upcoming next?
That's a great question. Everyone loves to ask that question. So, during our second premiere of Solo Orange at the Kimball Theater this past January, we had shown two different trailers before the main film. The first one was a documentary that we have been producing for the past 6 months for the Let Freedom Ring Foundation. It is on the history of the African American Church at First Baptist Church on Scotland Street, and it specifically centers around the Freedom Bell, the newly restored bell that was taken to Washington, D.C. For their new African American museum that was commissioned by President George W. Bush, but was then, it was opened by the ringing of the bell from President Barack Obama. So the documentary kind of goes through that story, and it interviews a lot of key people that were involved in that process and kind of what that means for the African American community in the United States.
So the main story is about the Freedom Bell and how it impacts others?
Yes, so it's about the Freedom Bell that impacts others.
For those who don't know, what is the Freedom Bell? Sorry.
So yes, that's a great question. So the Freedom Bell was a bell that was purchased by the Women's Auxiliary back in, oh dear, here come the dates. It was 18 something. It's old. It's a very old bell, but it was purchased by the Women's Auxiliary at the historic First Baptist Church in Williamsburg, Virginia, which is the oldest African American church in continued operation today in the United States. So very, very old.
Wow, that's very cool. I didn't even know that was in Williamsburg.
Yep, yes, sir. It's in Williamsburg, established in 1776. So very, very old. But the amazing thing is the bell was sitting up in the steeple of the church for, decades unrung. Decades and decades and decades. And it was the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation that found out that the bell was up there. And they said, well, wait a minute. This thing's been here the whole time, and it stopped ringing. It stopped ringing through the whole civil rights movement that was happening in the United States. Martin Luther King Jr. actually spoke at that church, and the bell was dormant at that time. So there was a very big push in the year 2016 for Black History Month to get this bell restored, get it over to Washington, D.C., so it could be rung to open up the African American, History Museum that was just built there. And what better way to open the museum than to use a bell in one of the oldest African American churches in the country, rung by the first African American president of the United States. So very big symbolism and a lot of history in that whole event.
That's awesome. So why did you feel compelled to take that project on specifically?
That's a great question. So I was actually approached by the president of the Let Freedom Ring Foundation,
Yeah.
They had previously seen the work that IDPS, had done, and it was significant because, as an African American, this is a story that does resonate, of course, with me. And they said, we really want this told from a different perspective, from a younger perspective. That one of the things was they didn't want too many old people involved, which I thought was funny, but but no, it's a tall task, because you're dealing with history, you're dealing with people who have had an integral part in the development and progression of civil rights here in the United States. And to have all of these different entities, from the Colonel Williamsburg Foundation, the LFR Foundation, all the way to the president ringing the bell in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's a big task, and I felt as though not only was it an amazing opportunity, but it was a story that we could tell from a very unique perspective, from the African-American perspective. And I thought, absolutely, why not? And so the cool thing is, so the trailer is out for that. It's on our YouTube channel. You can go take a look.
Oh, very nice. I don't know if I've seen that yet, but I'll check it out.
Yes, please. Yes,
awesome.
Yes. So we did premiere that at the second Solo Orange premiere.
Okay.
So that project is still in development. Of course, because of the virus, we have had to stop filming. And we're kind of going through, the post-production, editing, interviews, the things we can do inside. Yeah. But hopefully that will be, once the virus runs its course, we'll get rocking and rolling with that back again. And the original premiere for that documentary was supposed to be October of this year, but they have now moved it to Black History Month for February of 2021, due to the current situation. So it'll be a little longer, but that's okay. Do what we got to do. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we have coming is a lot more. It's a lot more internal in terms of the production, and we also premiered that trailer at the second premiere as well. And it is my short film after Solo Orange, and it is called Amore Blue, and it is a film about love, the experiences of love, the different ins and outs of love, and we have decided, after premiering that trailer to the audience, we got an amazing reception. We decided that we now want to, instead of releasing the short film that we currently have, to go back and develop it now into our first feature-length film. Is what that is going to be looking like.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's very exciting. I think what was good about Amore Blue was learning, right? I think every film you make, you learn something new, and there was a lot of learning going on with Solo Orange, even more learning going on with Amore Blue. And, at least for me, I feel now is the time, to take the time to go through the story, to develop, and to really polish this product into something that now can really go through the short film festival circuit and really be competitive, because that is a project that we really feel is ready to rock and roll with that.
So why do you want to make that film specifically?
That's a great question. I'm a firm believer that every filmmaker, every film director should be 110% immersed in their content. The passion has to be there in order for it to come to fruition, without a doubt. Amore Blue came during the time where I was actually going through my first official relationship, and so was the lead actor. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that helps when working together.
Indeed, let me tell you, many conversations, and it was a role. It was. I think everyone's first relationship is a roller coaster of sorts. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think, once again, when you are in love with someone and you're going through, that phase of your life, it changes you. It changes you in a big way. It gives you a new perspective on things. And so, as of course we're both supporting each other and talking with each other, we felt, man, this this is a perspective I think we need to tell this story on film. You know, we need to bring this to the light again from a different perspective. And it was interesting because we didn't want this film, you know, to be another a Notebook or another what's another one? The other one Ryan Gosling was in. Oh my goodness, Blue Velvet. Was it Blue Velvet?
I don't know specifically, but I know what you mean. Schmaltzy.
Okay. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know the traditional Hollywood love, so which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no,
You know,
nothing wrong with that. It's nice. But
right. But we wanted it to we wanted to tell a story from a very unique perspective of kind of the psychology of love and how we deal with that as humans, and how sometimes our psychologies don't match up with our significant other, you know, and how do we deal with that, you know, and how does that change us as people, you know? So that's kind of how that came to be, the development of Amore Blue, and kind of you know, the real relationships that we were dealing with during that time, which was very, very, very motivating, so to speak, in
yeah, of
both
course.
development of the script and of the film.
So what would you say your psychology on love is?
Oh man, still unknown. I'll be honest with you, Jonathan. I don't know.
Yeah.
Love is it's a very complex thing.
Yeah.
It can be interpreted in many different ways. And we don't have all the answers. You know, sometimes we blame ourselves, you know, for things that have happened through relationships, and sometimes it is our fault, sometimes it isn't. You know, it's a very tricky thing to navigate. But I think what's important is that we all find a better way to understand ourselves. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think through the journey of love, we're finding more about ourselves as individuals. And I think it's important, in order for you to effectively open yourself up to someone else, you have to know, in a basic sense, truly who you are, right? And
Yes.
what your needs are, and how you and what your priorities are, and how you need to function. And of course, that journey can be amplified through that significant other. And that's where that complexity comes into play. I wish I had a simpler answer for you, you know, but
it's a good answer, though.
Yeah, well, you know, thank you. I'm still.
You want to try and simplify it?
Trying to simplify it, for sure. But I think that's what we deal with as humans. You know, that's what that's the consistent journey that we are always on. You know, is that emotional journey. And I just think that's important for us to continue to develop as we live our lives.
So what's the takeaway you want people to feel after watching Amore Blue?
Yes, what's the takeaway?
What's the feeling?
What's the feeling? Know thyself, I think, would be a good way to put it. I think after you watch the film Amore Blue, we want to put an emphasis on taking care of you. Because you can't take care of someone else. You can't effectively love someone else if you are not in tune with you, with yourself, with your priority. And that's easier said than done.
Of course,
that's
it is. Yes.
Easier said than done. And I think it's important that as you continue to wrestle with the idea of love, and hopefully Amore Blue assists in this way, it's important for people to also listen. I think it's hard. Love is something that's very complex and it's hard to interpret. And that's something that myself and Francis Ademobi, who was the lead actor, he was one of the supporting actors in Solo Orange. That's something that we consistently talked about. When we had our conversations about relationships, and it's hard. Both of us, we struggled with that aspect. So I think that is what I would like people to wrestle with and would like to come out the theater feeling, is an emphasis on you as the individual, right? And then from there, an emphasis on, okay, how can my significant other, right, enhance that individual understanding, and then that will transfer hopefully into the better understanding of each other, hopefully. And it all, that's really, it doesn't always go to plan. Most likely it never goes to plan, you know, but then, you know, how do we deal with that? You know, how do we adapt to that, so to speak?
Why do you think it's so beneficial for people to understand themselves?
Because we live in a world where it is all about somebody else, right? And what I mean about that is, I see it all the time on social media. I see it all the time in the, you know, when I'm in the classes. I see it all the time. It's people. It's as though there's people have to get to somebody else's level for some odd reason. I don't know what it is. It's just, you know, it's just how it is. It's just the world that this social interconnected world that we live in. But if I may, is that the world we live in, or is that the projection of the world that certain people in society are thinking? That's a great point. That's a great point. I think it is part projection as well. And I think, to add to that point, the byproduct of that we are now seeing is isolation as well. You know, people aren't talking to, at least in a way, face-to-face conversations are not really that common anymore. Especially now these days, of course, with the whole social distancing thing. And, you know, you and I, we're talking through Zoom right now, which is amazing.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
great with technology. But
right. It's exceptional. But the other end of that now is we're communicating less with each other.
Yes.
You know, we need an app now to, you know, so whether it be Tinder or Bumble or whatever, you know, that's how, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. What I'm saying is, the way humans are now communicating in this technical age is affecting how we care for each other, how we love each other. And I think that's something that's important to note. And it's going to be interesting how we interpret that. I think if you talk to anyone, really, you know, let's see, I'm what, 22? So what, 10 years ago, I was 12, right? So I think my view on relationships is at 12 years old, before, you know, all of these technical developments with all these social media apps, is a whole lot different than it is today. And I think the expectation of what a relationship is different also today.
Yeah.
For sure. So hopefully that answers your question about, whatever that question, what was that? Give me that question again.
I forget specifically as well, but like it was a good little bit.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think love is a very interesting topic. What's your favorite emotion?
That's my favorite emotion.
Yeah, just full stop. It doesn't have to be love, but just what's your favorite emotion?
What's my favorite emotion? Oh dear. Let's see. What's my favorite emotion? I would say a feeling of excitement. I like being excited. I like it when big things
Describe this
happen.
excitement.
Describe excitement. Okay.
Excitement can mean anything. Let's narrow it down.
True.
Get to the core.
Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. On set, and you know, I'm got big cameras rolling, big lights. There's smoke everywhere. There's chaos. I love that. I love the thrill. I love the thrill and the energy. I think that would be my favorite emotion.
Like things are happening. Like it's all coming together. Yeah.
Yes. If things are moving, fast speed, fast pace, it's excellent.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that would be my, if I had to describe one of my favorite emotions, that's what it would be.
I love that. Yeah, I can agree. I think I agree with you. I would describe
Excellent.
mine as like the beginning of your life's about to start. You know,
Yes.
like you're on the brink of something. You're just about to crack the next case or something, and like it's just about to get even bigger.
Yes. And what's even more exciting is you're doing it every day.
Damn right.
Every single day.
Living for that emotion. That's it.
Yes. And making that money.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I love
doing what you love.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that's hard. That's hard.
Oh, I know. I'm very grateful.
Very hard.
Yes,
for sure.
What are some challenges that have come up that you have made you a stronger filmmaker?
Yes. Filmmaking's hard, man. You know that, right, John?
Yeah. Oh man, learned so much in the past like ages. Like
yes,
but you know, I'll say one thing before. Sorry to butt in, but I think I personally reached a point where I'm always learning still. Yes. But the way I'm learning it's a bit more faster, if that makes sense. Like I'm able to catch things because I've done the big lesson. You know, and like inside that big lesson is still a bunch of smaller lessons, you know, and there's still plenty of big lessons to come, you know, and I think that's reflective in some of my work. Like I think like the past 5 music videos I've done, for example, I think they're pretty consistent in quality. I think that they're a certain level, you know, but I think like stuff before that is like, yeah, you know, I was in uni with like, you know, student film, you know, I know that's not the best thing to say because for example, Solo Orange, it doesn't look like a student film. You know, but
dear. Well, thank you.
But you know what I mean? Like when you slap that title onto something, it's a bit derogatory, you know?
Yes.
But I feel like lessons in life and understanding growth, I think I've learned patience. That's a big thing. Yes. We took ages to prepare Collision, the most recent fashion film I did.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm just so happy about it.
Yes.
Like, because that was a big lesson. That was understanding how to do a production right, start to finish.
Yes. I love it. Yes.
Like the fact that we did that was a long stretch. Like, you know, if we were just in it for the money and not just the passion, you know, it wouldn't have happened. You know, because we put in so many hours and like we just made it happen because we loved it. It was a passion project between mostly myself, the designer, and the producer, but we had a crew of 25 people, or a casting crew of 25 people behind us.
Excellent.
But yeah, just patience is something I learned. And like the fact that we took all the time means next time it comes around, we'll be able to take a little less time because we learned from being patient that first time.
Excellent. I love that. And I love how, you know, you talked about, you know, your producer, your designer, and the people that, you know, 25 people that were also behind you. You know, there's always a phrase I always say. There are 2 phrases. A captain is no captain without his crew.
Yes.
And you are the company you keep.
Yes.
And I think reflecting on both the Moe Blue and Solo Orange, I learned, yes, patience is such a big thing. I think for me, I also learned communication as well.
Yes.
As a direct, it was, you know, Solo Orange is such a different film. You know, it was hard. I had to learn how to speak to an actor and explain my vision to him without him really having a script or I mean, of course he had the background of who John was in his character, but I had to communicate what you need to communicate through the lens, right? And how you should feel in this moment. And it was that communication aspect that I had to learn through Solo Orange that really helped me once Amore Blue came around. And I think what was amazing was, again, the people I had around me, the support I had around me. There were some dark days, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're spending 12, 14 hours on set, you know, people are tired, it's dark outside, it's cold, it's wet, and you got a movie to make, man. It's rough, you know? And that's where, again, I'm glad you made this point. That's where that passion comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Solo Orange, it was a very different film in that the money that was raised to make that film did not go a lot to the crew. It was really to just get the equipment
Mm-hmm.
to go out and make the film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, all of these amazing students were on set 12, 14, taking up their weekends, but they couldn't go to any parties, man. They could nothing. It was all movie making, you know, and the passion was there. And for me, I had to, as a director, I had to really understand, okay, I know I need to communicate effectively so we can get it done,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But yes, you are correct. I also have to be patient because I have to realize I'm not on a Hollywood set. This isn't, we don't have a $100 million budget, you know. It's going to take more time. It's going to take more time. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be chaotic, but that is a part of the process. And it was amazing because the timeline for Solo Orange for filming was 4 months, and then it was 2 months for post-production. Amore Blue was 4 days in post in filming. So 4 months to 4 days. So the amount of things we learned just between those two films was just incredible. Absolutely,
of course.
incredible.
I'm sure you learned how to make things much tighter and shoot much more deliberately for Amore Blue.
Let me tell you.
How many days in that 4-month period was Solo Orange actually shot?
So it was, so it was like 4 days a week. So
4 days a week for
months,
4 months.
So for 4 months, it was usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, depending on what we didn't finish those 3 previous days. There was a moment actually when it was December of 2018, just before Christmas break. We were trying to finish the film before Christmas break, but I had taken a look at some of the footage. This guy wasn't built yet, so it was terrible because we couldn't even look at what we were shooting half the time. But once we got Stanix built here, we kind of took a look at the content, and we said, it ain't right. We have to come back in January and reshoot some stuff, you know, because we wanted to make it the best we could. Now, yes, of course, would that really put us up, you know, really close to that premiere date in March? Yes, it would. But we had to do it because the story deserved it. John deserved it. So, absolutely.
Wow. So, what's the biggest takeaway regarding communication?
What's the biggest takeaway? The biggest takeaway in communication, I think, is patience is a part of it, but I also think having a clear vision is also a part of it.
I completely get that. Yeah.
Yes, and I think it's difficult because sometimes you sometimes you don't have really a clear vision of what you're trying to communicate. But I think that's where giving the freedom for the actor you're working with, or the performer, whoever it is, to interpret that, I think is also important. You have to have that space, right? And I think part of communication is collaboration. You know, it's a part of it. And it's interesting because I had just watched, I'm sure you've seen Mad Max by George Miller.
I've seen the new one.
Oh, yes, the new with Tom Hardy, the newer one.
Yeah.
So I had just recently bought the film, and I had just recently watched the black and white version.
I haven't seen that, but I want to so bad.
Oh, it is. I thought I wouldn't like it. I loved it.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
Loved it. Beautiful. But I was watching the behind the scenes, and it was interesting to hear that during the filming of that movie, Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron were actually very frustrated with the filming process. They were very frustrated because, you know, they didn't know what they were making. And it was interesting because George Miller had to try and communicate to them what he was trying to do without telling them. Like it was very interesting how he phrased his
So
response.
why was he withholding information from them?
It wasn't that he was, I think, withholding information. He was having them act and do certain things that didn't make sense to the actors, but it made sense to him. And I think it was difficult for the actors to understand, well, why am I doing it this way? And George Miller was like, well, you're doing it this way because there's a vision. You have to trust me,
I mean, that's a big, I mean, how many directors have said that and then the film doesn't make the light of day?
Exactly.
So, obviously, George Miller's George Miller and Mad Max is a fantastic film. So the vision obviously paid off.
Exactly. And so that's where that communication and that collaboration balance is really a balance.
Yes.
And it really does take the intuition and confidence of a director to really communicate what he's trying to do.
Yes.
And that's a hard lesson to learn, man. I'm like I said, I'm still learning it.
Yeah, completely. I am as well. Like I've learned so much. I think it's a funny one to pull that card because you can, as a director, you can just say, like, it's the vision. Just trust me on this. You can say that, and if your crew trusts you, they should just listen and keep their mouths shut. But that is a card that I think shouldn't be always pulled. Unless you're George Miller,
yes.
Because it's kind of a power card, and I always want to be challenged, but also at the end of the day, the vision's in my head and nobody else's. Like the storyboard on someone else's head, a previs is cut together with like temp music and and everyone else can see it, but like it's not the vision in there. You can do your best to convey it, and that's what communicating is. It's doing your best to convey the vision.
Yes.
I think,
go ahead.
No, you go. I was going on a tangent.
Yeah. Well, no. All I was going to say, and I think the good thing about that is that's where respect comes into play as well.
Yes.
The respect you have for the actors and what they're doing, the respect you have for the crew members and what they're doing. I think respect is a big part of that communication, and that's also something that I learned, and I had to deal with that. And there was a situation where I did have to remove a DP from Solo Orange at the beginning because there was an issue. There was an issue, and we couldn't continue. And it was hard to communicate that. And it was unfortunate because I actually did make a major mistake in communicating how that removal was going to take place for the crew. And it was something that was brought to my attention by my crew members. And it was a lesson that I had learned that next time I need to do it differently. And this is how I can do it differently in a respectful way. Because in my head, of course, I'm thinking I'm being, polite and respectful. I gotta move it and make, I can't be having this going on set. But it came across differently. Right.
Yeah.
And that was a big lesson that I had to learn. Oh, okay. I probably shouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful and grateful because I think the crew understood my heart and understood what I was trying to do, and still trusted me. Still, followed their orders and do what they had to do to make it happen. So I was just thankful that I had people who knew my heart. And knew where I was coming from and saw the passion, and could say, well, no, he might have done it the right way, but we get what he was trying to do. Let's keep it moving. Well, I'm interested, if you don't mind, Jonathan. The name of your last this music video you were just talking. What's the name of that again?
It's called Collision.
Collision. Yes.
Yeah.
How long did it take you all to make that?
Okay, so I met the designer Ray July 27th last year, 2019.
Okay.
And then we got a producer like 3-4 weeks later.
Okay.
There's a producer we knew. I was eyeing a few. Picked Ryan because I hadn't worked with him before. He's fucking great. He's such a good producer.
Excellent.
And then like it's a bit of a funny one because like I'm freelance. The designer and the producer aren't.
Sure.
They're working other jobs. So it was a time juggle.
Okay.
So Ryan works, or at the time was working full time at Panelux.
Okay.
and Ray was also doing freelance design work, but she also had another full-time job. So we did pre-production for a few months, and then Christmas slowed us down, you know, because obviously December's just kind of didn't exist, you know.
Yes.
We met up and like we had a meeting or two in December, but it's like not really.
Right.
So we got a choreographer in January, Acti, who's absolutely fantastic. She is just a visionary, amazing human being, and like because it's contemporary dance, I don't know how the fuck to do that. You know what I mean? Like, do this, you know, tell the emotion, emote, perform, do your thing, you know? But having
how the hell do we do that?
Exactly. So I'm just like, okay, so I want to go from like curiosity to build up to explosive anger, do it exponentially. Like I want to feel some anger, right? And then like all of a sudden it's just anger, and then you know what? Actually, just chill out. Like, why are we all worrying? You know, it's just like peace, and that's what the piece is about. Like the piece is about like dealing with PTSD. It's about dealing with trauma. It's about a car collision.
Wow.
So the designs that Ray came up with, there's like this beautiful pink dress, and it has like tire tracks all over it. And then there's another thing with like straps, and they're actually seat belts.
Wow.
So, and Ray was actually in 2 car collisions like 3 months apart. So there's like legitimate trauma behind this, and it's fully inspired like from her experience.
Wow, that's excellent. Wow.
Yeah. So it was a great honor to work with someone like on that like emotional level as well. And I love emotion, and I love being able to depict something. And like I just love stuff that's genuine. You know, it's like this is like purely just genuine from the heart. Like it's not like someone had the idea of, oh yeah, let's make something about a car collision. It'll be like cool. It'll be like fashion. You know, it's more than that, you know?
Right. Yes, there's a deeper meaning, deeper levels of understanding. That's excellent. Now, when does this get released? I'm so excited, man. You know I'm excited to see.
I can't wait to show it. So we wrapped principal photography. It was just a 2-day shoot in the sort of Midlands of England, and that was the end of February. But then we got a picture lock. We have a color grade. Happy days. But we need to do recording. Now, I suppose we could do recording remotely. I think we have better sound equipment at the house, and I want to bring our composer over here. But we're in isolation, obviously. My housemate is the guitarist, and it's going to sound awesome. Great. We're going for like psychedelic rock vibes.
Oh, man, this is great. Oh, I love it. That sounds so interesting. And it sounds like you all have really put in the work, for sure.
Oh, man, I have never worked with such a good team start to finish. Like on the music team as well as Paolo, who I've worked with. I met him before I met Ray, the designer. And we've done a series of music videos. And I've also shot some of his live gigs. I'm hoping to release the music videos soon. They were finished and done like back in August.
Yes.
It's just one of those where, you know, you're sort of waiting for the right time, you know?
Yes.
And now that Tsilindr's up, like it'll be easier to just post things because like it can actually go somewhere, you know? Like we are not mindlessly talking on a Zoom chat with hopes to put it on YouTube one day. No, it's going it's going somewhere. Like we have the plan already, you know? Excellent. So that makes things easier.
Excellent.
But yeah, the crew, I just love them so much. I've loved all of my crews, but like this one, Ryan put together some great people. I knew some great people, like, and Acti knew some great people. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, just love everyone.
I love it, man. That's great, man. That's great. That's great. And like I said, Jonathan, I don't know where you want to shift the conversation, but man, hearing about Tsilindr and now as a fellow production company owner, man, oh man, I'm just so proud.
Cheers, man. Yeah, it's been a journey. I've really just spent a lot of time like interrogating myself about like what is Tsilindr? Why am I doing this? Like I know what I want to do. I want to make movies. I want to tell stories. But like, why do I want to do it? You know, that's what really matters.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, like you were saying in the beginning, no pretty pictures, you know?
Right.
Like I firmly believe if I understand what my creative partner or client, if you want to call them that, or the customer wants, if I understand what drives them, then the pretty pictures will just happen.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
we have, I was just raving about a crew, you know, like I wasn't telling them to make pretty pictures. I was like, no, let's tell emotion. Let's love what we do. Let's be
Yes.
surrounded with who we love. And then all of a sudden, like we
Yes.
ended up with some of the best cinematography of a project I've ever done. I can very happily say that like it's not better or worse than anything else. It's on
Right.
par with this great quality that we've
Beautiful.
made for Tsilindr.
Excellent. Oh, I love it. That's excellent, my friend. That is beautiful. That is beautiful.
I'm so excited for where things are going. But I'll tell you what, a struggle I'm having is maintaining social media. Oh man. Like,
welcome to my world.
yeah, because it's like I already had enough trouble like on my personal, or not my personal, my photography Instagram. And then all of a sudden it's Tsilindr Instagram, Tsilindr LinkedIn, Tsilindr Facebook, Tsilindr YouTube. I literally have enough content to post daily for the next like 2 weeks, but I don't have the time to do that. Because I just recorded some blog posts. You should check them out.
Yes. I did listen to your first one, actually.
Yeah, they're very worth listening to.
Done.
They're not really worth watching. It's just me reading.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just on the laptop scrolling, like, you know. But it was like, you know what? I have a GoPro. Might as well video it. It's for another platform. It's like content.
That's excellent. And yes, I think running, let me tell you, man. So filmmaking is hard, right?
Nah.
running a business on top of filmmaking. Oh my goodness. What are we getting ourselves into?
I know, but I'll tell you what, I think it's very rewarding. And honestly, I'm very happy just being the one who's able to assemble the teams, the one who can make the vision happen. And also I want to be able to give other people opportunities. I want to be able to scale the business. So like, I don't want to be the only director, you know, I want other people to have room to tell their stories. And I'd rather keep that contained in something that has like a stamp of quality, you know?
Yes.
Like IDPS, Tsilindr. We stand for something, you know? Because I've worked for, because when I moved to London, I obviously didn't have the time or money to just crack on with just directing. So I was doing a lot of freelance work for other people, and I loved it, worked on great sets. But I think the thing that always was like in the back of my head, I was like, the creative control, you know?
Yes.
Like I don't want to be too ego-y with that, but it's just, you know, like I feel like I genuinely have a vision that I want to share with people.
Yes. That's amazing. Kudos to you, my friend. It's exceptional. And I think that has been one of the core reasons why IDPS has, at least to this day, you know, we have really focused on making our own content and telling it the way we feel it should be told. Is that hard? Is that expensive? Yes and yes. But we also feel it's necessary.
Yes.
It is necessary. And I think both as a filmmaker and as a studio owner, I think I have just grown and have learned so much at such a young age. It is a blessing. It really is a blessing. You know, I've had the privilege of working with some amazing clients, and I've had the privilege of working with not so amazing clients. Yeah. And in every dealing with you know, what have you, with each client, I have always learned something that is going to help me communicate better, help me get the vision across better, and help me get it done hopefully more faster and more efficiently. Because it's a very hard thing to balance, you know. But I think, like you said, it's so fulfilling. It is so fulfilling when that final product comes out and you are able to put your stamp of 100% ownership on that thing and say, this is what we have done. This is the story that we wanted to tell. This is the way we told it, and we own it.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, because things can get muddled when you involve too many people. And like, you know, I look forward to, you know, like maybe something won't be Tsilindr because, you know, I'll have a studio deal or something, you know, that's fine.
Sure.
You know, that's great. But I think I think like any business owner will tell you, yeah, staying private is a good idea. About, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll never want to stop telling stories, and having, I don't know, like just having that access to the crew is just like, there's these brilliant people who have such brilliant talent, and
Yes.
let's put it towards something that's not just like the next big cool comedy that people, you know, like whatever, that
Right.
people are just gonna laugh about. And I love comedies. I'm working on one now, but I personally think, at least for Tsilindr, I want to stand for something that inspires,
Yes.
not just to get laughs. I want to get laughs and
Yes.
inspire people. I want to make
Yes.
you feel empty inside and like twist your insides, and then make you feel loved at the end of it.
Yes. I love that. Yes. And I'm so glad you brought that point, because I was actually, I saw an article from, I think, IndieWire. It was a comment that Roger Deakins had made about how he's disappointed with the current state of cinema in Hollywood and the films coming out. And throughout the whole conversation, his big thing was, people aren't telling authentic stories anymore.
Mm.
Either it's a sequel or a remake, or I mean, where is the originality?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think as you know, as consumers of film entertainment as well, I think we've been seeing that trend. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's all that's out there. You know, of course, you'll get one or two original films, but everything else is a copy of something else. Where is the originality? You know, and I think that's where companies like Tsilindr, companies like IDPS can step in and say, well, look, people want something new and authentic, and there's an audience for it. There is an audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the question is, of course, we're always battling the think tanks and the corporate influences of et cetera, you know, to get to that general audience. So it's interesting, but I think, again, us honing in on our originality and our vision of storytelling, I think, is going to shine through, and I think is important. Great example, the production company A24 and all the stuff they put out. I
Yeah,
mean,
A24 puts
it's
out good
excellent
stuff. Yeah.
every time. It's
Yeah.
excellent, you know, and they have really grown a cult following, you know, well,
Yeah.
which is excellent. I mean, they're
And
really
it's
on the
rare for you
rise.
to hear people talking about like you could call them like a small studio. Like everyone knows Warner Brothers, like they're a household name. But like A24, a studio of that scale shouldn't be a household name, but like it is to people who like know it. And it's like, instead of listening to like these actors or like this reviewer, it's now like this production company is like worth listening to for what they say. That's how good their stamp of approval is.
Yes, I love that. That's excellent. Tsilindr's on its way.
It's all happening. Starting with Sparkplug. I can't wait to see what's next for IDPS.
Yes. You know, it has been, it's like I said, it's just been an exceptional learning experience. And, you know, I'm now at an interesting road in my life where, you know, I'm about to graduate college, and you know, the idea is to, you know, move up to, my original plan was to move up to New York. That still is the plan. Obviously that plan has gotten a little bit, is on a detour right now with the whole COVID-19 situation.
Of course.
But the goals are still the same. But in the meantime, it is continuing to develop the projects here at IDPS, continuing to get better at our storytelling, more efficient. And continuing once again to serve the community that we are in right now, through this. And yeah, it's difficult for everyone right now. Very, very difficult. You know, I've even been communicating with my friend up in New York, who works with, you know, all the major production studios up there and companies up there, and it's hard, you know, right now. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And this is now the time to continue to sharpen our skills and continue to push forward and develop.
Completely. Yeah. So how would you say you're spending your time wisely during isolation?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I'm the type of guy, I got to be doing something every single day. I think it's important that people understand that even though you're at home, you need a routine. You know, my alarm rings at 6:30 a.m. every morning. Now, some mornings, yeah, I might hit snooze, but it's programmed to 10 minutes later, it gonna keep ringing.
Yeah.
You know, so getting up every morning, usually I will begin by very first thing is I have to have breakfast. Like that's just a thing. Like I have to start my day with breakfast.
Do you start
And
with the
then
same
what I'll
breakfast?
no, I usually mix it up.
Okay. Yeah.
It might be a bacon and pancakes one morning. It might be a cinnamon toast crunch another. You know, you never know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I miss
It's
cinnamon
always
toast
something
crunch. Oh my
sweet.
god, I forgot that existed.
Oh yeah, do they not have that
No, they
in
don't.
London?
Oh my god.
Really?
No,
Oh man,
yeah. We have some good cereal, but we don't have that. But anyway,
I got you. You guys are a lot healthier with your food choices than us Americans.
I'll tell you what I've noticed. Like, there's these posts on Instagram, and it's very accurate. Like, an ingredient
Yeah,
like of like something in this is a completely unrelated tangent, but like ingredient
sure.
something you'll get in the States, same brand in the UK, and like the ingredient
Yes.
list is like this in America. It's like it just fills everything, and then like in the UK, it's just like normal. Oh
Yes.
my god, because it's like potato chips. What do you need? Like salt, potatoes, salt, and oil, right? And then they'll
Yeah.
manage to
Yeah.
put like 200.
Yeah. What a cultural difference indeed. What a cultural difference indeed, my friend. For
But anyway,
sure.
go back to your routine.
Yes. So yeah, like I said, I wake up early in the morning, get breakfast, and then what I'll immediately do is in the morning I kind of like to update myself on what's happening in the world, right?
Cool.
But I don't overdo it, and I think that's
Mm.
a big thing that we're dealing with, especially these days, is news 24/7. You don't need the news 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get your key points and you keep moving on. So I'll, spend about 10 minutes in the morning. Okay, let me see what's going on in the world. Let me watch, what's ABC News saying, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Then I'll switch over to my film education time, right? So that's where I specifically look at what's happening in the film world. You know, the new
Mm-hmm.
articles that are coming out, the state of the industry. I really like the website No Film School. They do some really good
Oh, cool.
reporting, and kind of go to them and see what's new with them every morning, just to educate and inform myself every morning.
Mm-hmm.
So then after I spend about take about maybe 30 minutes total, I'll then immediately switch to answering those wonderful emails you get every single morning. Oh, let me tell you. So, answering emails, sending things out, responding to clients, et cetera, the stuff you have to do, to get the day started. So once I finish that, then I try to spend time developing a certain aspect of the production company. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, the past couple of days, I have been researching potential partnerships with different digital marketing agencies around our area, right?
Cool.
We want to build IDPS's marketing wing, which is something we really haven't been paying attention to. And we really haven't had the personal time to do it, right? So kind of going through those different options and communicating with different people about that. So after I do that, then I'll usually then switch to self-development, right? So at the end of the day, I want to be a film director. I want to make films, tell these stories, and I want to do it without being constrained with, budgets and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So how can I build my portfolio and build my brand, right, in order to allow me to accomplish that? So for example, I spent some time just this morning actually thinking about how I'm going to outlay my personal website and the content I'm going to put on there. I was on of course, I'm sure you have the same experience on the a lot of the music websites. Listen to music. Okay, what can I use for my reel, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So spending that time for self-development every day. What can I do that builds my brand? What can I do that makes me look more professional? So that way, when someone does look, or I'm making a picture, whatever, those people can say, "Wow, this is someone who's taken themselves very seriously and has the content to prove it." So that'll take from between answering work with clients, taking the phone calls, doing the company development, the personal development. That'll take most of the day. And then towards the latter end of the day, I think it is, and it's something I struggle with so much, is relaxing,
Yeah.
breathing, taking time to just breathe. I am so used to just going 24/7, 100% all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn, for me personally, from my personal physical health and mental health, I can't do that 24/7
Yeah,
all the
completely.
time. I need to take time to slow down. And that includes slowing down, watching films, studying film,
Yeah,
studying what other directors are. You have to do that for yourself.
absolutely.
Or you're going to go crazy.
Mhm.
Staying inside all day is tough. A lot
Mm.
of people have suggested sometimes going out and taking a walk for half an hour around the block or around the pond or wherever you live.
Mhm.
Making sure you're still seeing the sun.
Yeah.
So after the hard work, I try to go and see if I can do that. I've also been, towards the end of the day as well, using some of that time to call friends, call people, check up on them, see how they're doing. How are they coping with the whole situation? So that's kind of how my day looks like. And I know I probably should have put some time frames in there for those different sections. But I think it's just important every day you wake up with a routine. You
Yes.
wake up with a goal of, I need to do this, that, and the third for the company, for me, for my relaxation, and then, of course, checking on others.
Yes.
And it helps. I think it helps because it's very easy, right? When that alarm clock, it's very easy to stay in bed till noon.
Mm.
I'm at home. It's very easy for me to, sit around and scroll through Instagram or Facebook all day,
Yeah.
right? That's very easy to do if I'm at home all the time,
Mhm.
So what are the structures I can put in place to make sure I'm continuing to be productive? I'm continuing to hold myself accountable while I have to be inside.
Yeah. That's good. That's awesome that you have like such a handle on all that, because like
Sure.
some people's lives just like spiral into nothingness after, like, you know what I mean? Like because
Sure.
there's a lack of structure, but I feel like it helps because like
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like film and freelance just lends itself towards self-regulating anyway,
Yeah. Yes.
because I don't remember what a normal schedule is like, because it's I've just been freelance and like not a single day is the same, you know,
Yes. Correct.
ever.
Right. Right.
So just coming up with the routine, it definitely helps having a sense of structure, but also I like to do a little to-do list the night before, or just like
Okay. Yes.
I've made one day I made a massive to-do list. This was before the coronavirus, and since the
Okay.
coronavirus I've crossed off almost everything, but that list was like
Wow.
literally everything to do, to every detail, and like it's
Wow.
just a big backlog of stuff, and I'm very happy to say like it's pretty much all crossed off except for a few things here
Excellent.
and there,
Sure.
but like it just frees up so much mental space as well, being caught up.
Yes, yes. And I think that's important. So glad you mentioned that because I've been able to use this time to, like you said, take care of that backlog,
Yeah.
get that content out there that should have been out there. Part of that content was releasing the film for free online. And,
Yeah.
it's like, one of the, after the second premiere, people said, well, when is the next premiere? I'm like, that's not happening again. It's not happening. Not happening. So it was like, okay, when are we gonna have the time to, go through the film, recolor, fix some things that we couldn't fix before. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to get all that stuff done. So that way, when the floodgates open again, hopefully we're all able to come out of our houses and shake each other's hands again, which maybe not a handshake, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you're right. We have the mental capacity to continue to develop and push even further, even higher.
Completely.
I love it, man. It's excellent. Excellent.
How long have we been chatting for? Just really quick.
Oh, I don't know. Probably an hour and a half, it looks
About
like.
an hour and a half. Yeah, very nice.
Yes.
Are there any other topics you want to cover?
I don't think so. I think this is an amazing conversation, Jonathan. It's always an honor and a pleasure to talk with you, my friend.
Oh, Isaac,
Um,
it's mutual. It's such a pleasure as well, honestly.
Absolutely. I think this is good. Especially with COVID-19, it's been hard for a lot of people
Mhm.
to cope with and to deal with. You keep hearing about people losing their jobs and unemployment and just all this stuff. And especially as creators,
Mhm.
that's just, it's a strain. It really is a strain. So um, I think one thing to take away for people is just to, again, take care of yourself, pace yourself, check on others. It's hard to be inside all day 24/7 for months on end. The uncertainty of work after this whole pandemic is over. What's that going to look like? The state of the industry, so I think it's just important, again, to mentally and physically take care of yourself, check up on others, stay sharp. I have a phrase with my friend Frank, who was in California, but he's now back home here in Virginia until the pandemic runs its course. And we have this phrase every time we get off the phone. We say, "Iron sharpens iron.
I
Iron
like that.
sharpens iron." So that's hopefully just making sure people keep that perspective through this very tough time.
Mhm. Brilliant, Isaac. It was great to have you on. Thank you. And
Yes, sir.
we'll link everyone to Solo Orange. It's available on YouTube, right?
Yes, available on YouTube right now.
Amazing. Cool. Uh,
Excellent.
well, thank you everyone
Awesome.
for listening. That's been another episode of Sparkplug.
Take care now, Jonathan.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
you take care, Isaac.